Business in unfamiliar territory can be tricky, and for any business partnerships to thrive, there has to be trust on both sides. Now, Africa 54's Esther Githui-Ewart tells us about that type of business arrangement.
Sub-Saharan Africa Chamber of Commerce organization was founded 8 years ago and is based in the U.S. The organization's president, Christine Marty Ochola, says the chamber supports both U.S. and African businesses in establishing partnerships and has offices in Nairobi and Johannesburg.
And so what the chamber actively does on a day-to-day basis is identify who are viable partners. We work with our companies to support that identification, to support the communication to very specific sectors.
There seems to be some sort of fear of the unknown from potential investors in Africa and companies in Africa that are not quite sure how the partnership is going to play out. How do you verify who is legitimate on both sides of the aisle?
We lean a lot on our local partners, but we also lean a lot on, like I said, the U.S. Commercial Service on the African side, because they also have resources to help in verification. Now, the other way around, we do the same thing.
In spite of the many business partnerships that are doing well between Africa and outside investors, Ochola acknowledges that the perception of risks on both sides still persists.
For example, U.S. companies will say that, you know what, we think there's a lot of corruption in Africa, and what if we send our things there and these guys don't pay us back and we'll be out of our product, plus we'll be out of our money. Well, you know what, the same thing is happening to African companies, and we have actually found ourselves in a space where we are trying to get the U.S. companies to pay the African companies because these guys have not paid.
China is investing heavily in Africa, and some economic experts say the U.S.-Africa trade is somewhat lagging behind, but Ochola sees it differently.
Africa is investing heavily in Africa, but partnering with China. And why do I say that? Because the Chinese will come into the country with their money and say, we will develop these roads for you, but you pay us back in 30 years. Who's paying back? The continent is paying back. If we talk about companies such as Merck that have set up packaging facilities in South Africa or in Kenya, or we have U.S. companies that have set up a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility in Nigeria. To me, that's investment, because a company has vested in establishing something, in hiring people, right? Manufacturing, so creating jobs. They might be exporting their stuff out, but they're certainly leaving some value on the ground.
How is the economic climate in Africa, and which way should investors and even local businesses be channeling their energy?
For an investor, look at what's going on in the given country. And if there's too much ripple on the political side, and if there's a lot of dysfunction within the governance sector, then you might want to hold off a little bit. If, for example, one wants to enter the renewable energy market, we know that Morocco is doing really well with wind. We know that Rwanda is also doing wind. We know Kenya is doing geothermal. Namibia is looking at solar. Togo is looking at solar. Look at the sectors that Africa actually wants.
And her advice to Africans in the diaspora who want to invest in the continent?
I've found that the diasporans who've been successful, they're ones who have said, okay, do we have a lawyer? Do we have an accountant? Do we have a business that was registered, that is actually paying taxes, and so on?
Ochola says for African countries to tap the diaspora capital, governments should create tax regulations and a judicial system that works to protect diaspora investment in their native countries. Esther Githui-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.